It's really sad. Right. So I was saying that at the moment we have funds available to be 104. Meanwhile, the liabilities was even 280, which we couldn't. We don't have that 280. We only have 104. So we say that additional finance needed. Additional finance needed will be 280 minus 104. We only have money, we have generated money of only 104. Meanwhile, liabilities, we have 280. So even with that, we could even pay for that. So we need the extra, the remaining amount of the liabilities. We need to search for money on that. The remaining liabilities, we need to search for money on that. So please, let's note how that is really what computed. It is an important thing to note. Why are we saying that? Here, the company sold its fridges assets, and the fridges asset is sold. There was also employees in the fridges division. Those employees in the fridges division were also sacked, and we actually incurred a redundancy cost on that action. That means the benefit of selling the fridges was 140, and the cost which comes with selling the fridges division also comes with a redundancy of what? 36. So the 140 compared with the 36 gives us a net effect of 104. So at the moment, the money we have in our hands by embarking on selling the fridges division is 104. Meanwhile, we need to what? Pay for liabilities. So we sold the fridges division, left with the parts division. Right. So additional finance we need at this point relates to the difference which we have computed. Relates to the difference. So I think you can do that subtraction to n and give me the answer. If not, then I do it over here. 280 minus 104. So I end up getting 176. So Doric Co should go and look for this 176 million. Because you only have 104, non-current liabilities is even 280. You could even get the money to pay the 280. So the remaining you couldn't get, go and search for this additional finance. Then they stated in there, let me take you to where that information was in the case of the proposal, right? Let me read that side, though I read it the other time, but let me still read it. They are saying that the proceeds from the sale of the fridges division, they are telling you what to do, so you go by that. The proceeds from the sale of the fridges division will be used to pay the outstanding liabilities. So the 104 that they got, they used it to pay the outstanding liability. Unfortunately, the outstanding liabilities was 280, and the proceeds we got, which was 104, was used to pay the 280, and it was left with 176, which we couldn't get it, and we had to go and search for that additional finance. The finance is raised from the management buyout. Sorry, the finance raised from the management buyout will pay for any remaining liabilities. So we estimate that any remaining liabilities, it never ended there. The funds required for the additional investment. So to pay that. And the purchase of the current equity shares at a premium of 20%. So this is what the money, so we need money to embark on all these activities. At the moment, we only have 104, and even the non-current liability couldn't pay for that. So that means that the money to purchase the current equity shares, we don't have money available. We have to go and search for that money. Again, the funds required for the additional investment, please, I'm looking at what the examiner is saying, I'm reading exactly that. The funds required for additional investment, we don't have the money. We only got 104, and we could even pay the 280 of the liabilities. Equity, we set for it, additional investments, all those bits stated in there, you look at it and you add them. That is additional finance the company should look for. So the reading is actually giving us that hint. So let's go to our calculation. They said that the 104, which was the proceeds they got, should be used to pay for the liabilities, and it couldn't even pay for that. It was left with 176. Okay, let's make a move. And they said that there's going to be parts to be used in paying for the management buyout. So let's estimate that value. Part to be used in estimating the management buyout. Part to be used in estimating the management buyout. That's okay. I think that information will somewhere be here. That is here. The new company will continue with manufacturing parts. That's after the purchase. The management who have purchased it, they continue with the manufacturing parts. But we'll make an additional investment. Of 50 million in order to grow part of the division after cash flows by 3.5%. Beautiful information over there. So let's add that as an additional investment that they need. They need that additional investment. Where is it? Okay. So they need this additional investment. So let me add this additional investment. After buying, you still need this fund before you can proceed. So additional funds after purchase. Let me just make additional funds after purchase. They say it's 50 million, so 50. It never ended there. They said that they will need additional funds. So over here, there's no other calculation apart from focus on the highlighted. This side, which is highlighted. There's nothing to do apart from focus on this highlighted area and understanding it and using it to do the calculation. So they also stated that there's going to be a payment of the equity value. Let me read that side. And to purchase the current equity shares at a premium of 20%. Premium of 20% means 120% premium. So what is the current equity value as we speak? What is the current equity value as we speak? We need to estimate the current equity value. The current equity value. That is fine. So the current equity value is now the shares, which is 40 plus the reserves, which is 50. So, sorry, which is 10. So at the end of the day, the equity value, if you look at equity, share capital is part of equity, reserves is part of equity. So at the end of the day, the equity is going to be 40 plus 10. Financial statement preparation, if you look at equity, the equity side, we have share capital, reserves, they are all equity. And they said 20% premium on the equity. So the equity value is 50. Please know why it is 50. This is incorporation of accountant issues a little bit. So you come here, premium of equity, premium on equity. So we have it to be 50. So 50, 120% of 50. Because they said 20 what? Premium, so extra. So 120% means 120 over 100. And 120 over 100 is 1.2. So 1.2 times 50 will give us what? So that will give us 60. That will give us 60. That will give us 60. Right. So at the moment, these are all the funds that the company needs. These are all that the company needs. So what to do is that to estimate, so total funds needed. To say total funds needed is going to be the 176 plus 50 plus 60. 176 plus 50 plus 60. So that gives me 286 million. So after getting the 104, which was not enough, they need to go and search for 286 before they can really settle and say that they bought the company and they can actually start operation. So they will need 286 entirely. They will need 286. They will need 286. That's the additional funds needed. That is one half of the question. But the examiner never only said we should determine the additional finance needed. They said estimate the additional finance additional amount of finance needed, and the value of the new company. Now, the new company is only left with the manufacturing parts. Freight is gone. It's left with only what? The parts. We pray and we thank God that the examiner never brought in WACC, cost of capital calculation. But current questions will bring in WACC. So please, the part which is gone. So if you remember the way we calculated asset beta, in the case of, there's one question we saw, I forgot in TUTOR Co, that TUTOR Co star, please benchmark it with Doric, and that will be the exact star of, if this pilot paper is going to be examined, that is the nature, the same issues, but you realize that after the sale, they are going to give you some cash flows that you are supposed to determine the value, the valuation of the company using free cash flow methodology. What is going to happen is that you need the WACC of the company of Doric, which is left with only what the manufacturing parts. And meanwhile, you have the equity beta. So you should see the process you go through to get the asset beta of only the parts. Then you add the capital structure of the parts. So please still recall issues of TUTOR Co. And I tell you, TUTOR Co was also a pilot paper. So you can now see the trend of the questions that I'm selecting, right? Good. You can see the trend in that regard. So the examiner says we should estimate the market value of the company. Value of the company. Oh, are we going to use P ratio? Throughout the question, I never saw P ratio, nothing of that sort. Free cash flows, which of them am I using? But I will conclude that it will never be PE ratio because they never gave us any information on P ratio. But can we conclude that there wasn't any information on free cash flow? We can't conclude there was information on free cash flow. If you recall the information on free cash flow, someone say, Henry, I can see that. Let me show you that. Right? The examiner said over here that the new company will continue with manufacturing parts only, but will make an additional investment of 50 million. They will need more money, 50 million extra. So that's the additional capital required. We factored that 50 already. But we need additional investment of $15 million in order to grow the parts division after tax cash flows by 3% in perpetuity. You remember the free cash flow methodology we estimated in the case of Pursuit Co. I think in the case of Pursuit Co. We estimated the discounted free cash flow from year 1 to year 4, and year 5 to infinity, we made a projection. We made a projection into perpetuity. So if you see that, you know, free cash flow methodology is here for me. And that is it. So you have to know that. That's why you have to know how to estimate the value of the company using all the techniques. So that if the question comes, nobody is going to tell you you are using PE ratio, you are using free cash flow. You should see the characteristics of what you do, and that should tell you this is what I'm using here. If the two are present, then that one, the examiner is not even going to do that. To make two things present, you can use PE ratio to determine the value, free cash flow, never. He's not going to create two marking schemes. So he will only bring one star. So let's be alert with issues like that, right? Good. So over here, we're going to estimate the terminal value. In estimating the value of a company using free cash flow, we said the one we look at it in perpetuity, we call it the terminal value. The year 1 to year 4, they never give us information in this regard. So that is what I'm going to look at. So what do we do in estimating free cash flow? Please do not forget that. If you remember, we calculate what? The profit before interest and tax. We subtract tax. Somebody might have forgotten as we speak. Profit before interest and tax minus tax plus depreciation plus or minus working capital. So we are going to do same for this question. And so the way of calculating free cash flow methodology does not change in every regard. So we have to master our principle, and it ends there. In every regard, we are going to be in what? Good shape. In every regard. But we are looking at the tax allowance on depreciation, not the depreciation. Depreciation itself is going to be what? A subtraction. But the allowance, the cash flow on the depreciation is what is going to be what? A cash flow, and it's going to be what? Factored in as an addition. But a normal depreciation, we look at it after subtracting that depreciation. So please get the two. We are talking about depreciation cash with the depreciation. That's why the examiner equate depreciation, which is the cash flow on the depreciation, with the the cash flow on depreciation with the working capital, which is also cash. How do you, depreciation in accounting is a non-cash item. It's a notional cost. It is just something that the accountant has estimated that this is how I'm calculating depreciation. My asset has fallen by 5 million. Meanwhile, you can even sell your asset at 80 million. So that depreciation you calculated in books is bogus. So we are looking at cash flow, and we do not factor in any item which is not cash flow. So over here, what we are going to do is that we are going to estimate the profit before interest and tax. How do you estimate the profit before interest and tax? I ask myself the question, where is sales? Question, where is sales? Question. So sales value, where are you? Do I have the cost of sales or any cost? If I have it, then at least I'm in wishing. So question, where can I find all these things? So if you come here, that's what the examiner gave you. He said sales revenue. Part division is 170. Free division is what? 340. But note that we are estimating the market value of the remaining company, which fridges is gone. So you cannot estimate add the fridges. Fridges is no more. We are left with parts. And the part is what will determine the current value of the company now. So now Doric is made up of only parts and estimate the value of the new company. The new company, Doric, is now parts. Fridges is no more. So do not factor in the sales value of fridge, because fridge is dead and gone. The value of the new company is now parts. Doric is now parts. No fridge. Right? So that sort of issues turns out to be good. So we are going to only pick the part which is 170. We're going to only pick the part which is only what? 170. So Henry, be very quick. 170. Oh, sorry, 170. Is the part also creating any cost? Do you have any cost coming with the part? There's a cost prior to depreciation, interest payment, and tax is 120 for parts. It's 120 for parts. 120 for parts. So you can consider that anything of fridge is not important because as we speak, there's no fridge division. Dead and gone. So it's 120. So at the end of the day, I end up getting a profit before interest and tax depreciation. So the profit elements here I have before interest and depreciation is 50. Is close. Thereafter, I calculate depreciation. So I calculate depreciation. Depreciation. Here, it will tend to be a complicated matter. We need to calculate the depreciation. We calculate the depreciation on assets. But mind you, the total asset of the company was 3, but the fridges division took 2/3. So that means the part division is left with 1/3. Where is that information here? It appears you are only inputting your figures and your assumptions and you are using to solve the question. The fridges division is twice the size of the parts division. In terms of its asset, is twice the size. So if the parts division is X, the fridges division will be 2X. So if the part of the division is 1, the fridges division will be 2. And that will give us 3 in total. So 2/3 will be attributable to the fridge, 1/3 for the parts. And the company is now left with the parts. So the part is 1/3. So let's look at the total value. Here we are not using market value because we are calculating depreciation. So what is the value of the assets of this company? What is the value? So we have depreciation. The examiner never gave us the book value for us to continue. Good. Oh, he said it's what? 110. He said the value is 110. Now, if we have this value to be 110, the question is that we want to calculate depreciation. Do we know the method of calculation of depreciation from start to this point, where we can pick this up and continue? We cannot determine that. So if we have the realizable value, it is the revalued amount. And in calculation of depreciation, you can either use the methods, but what happened is that in accounting for, accounting for PP, initial at cost, subsequently either cost or what? Revaluation. And the revalued amount is the correct value of the asset. So at the point of looking at where the asset is sold, You need not to go and use the book value. Unless otherwise the examiner is saying that the book value is the same as the market value. Fine. Please, I'm explaining why the book value, why the market value, and we are going by the market value. The book value, the reason why I'm not using the book value is that where it started, we started calculating the depreciation, getting this net book value, which is 110 here. We don't know where we go to. And this is the value of the asset in our book. But that's not the current value. The current value is the market value. And here we have it as 100. So we estimate our depreciation on the current value. The current value, or where am I writing? The current value is what? The current value is 100. So I'll just put it to bracket. 1/3. I want to determine the portion which belongs to us. 1/3 of the 100 will be the value of the assets, because 1/3 belongs to parts. So 1/3 of the 100 belongs to parts. Then there was an extra investment into assets. There was an extra investment into what? Assets. Where is the extra investment into assets? The examiner talked about it. Where is it? He said, but we'll make an additional investment of 50 million. So that's an additional investment into what? Assets. And that 50 million should be added to it. So we are adding the 50. I'm all the time drifting from where the calculation is. So we add these two. So 1/3 of 100 plus 50, that value you get, we will now multiply by the depreciable rate. The examiner gave us the information on the depreciation, the depreciable rate in the question. So let's go pick it up and go by it. The examiner stated it here. I have to be very quick this time around. Annual depreciation on non-current asset is 10%. And this amount of is 10%, and this is the amount of investment needed to maintain the current level of activity, right? So we need to estimate that portion. Here they didn't say it is equivalent to the working capital. They didn't say that. I keep all the time going to that. So 1/3 of 100 plus 50 times 10%, then you get that value. Then we come to the last, please you can do that calculation at your end. Then we come to tax. Tax. We calculate tax. Tax. So over here, tax 20%. So what answer are we getting for the first one? 1/3 times that. 3.33 plus 50, 80. 83.33 times 10. 8.33. So we have 8.33. 8.33. Case closed. Then we have the tax 20%. 20% will give us what? So we have to look at it. 20%. Please, can you do it at your end?
8.33 or 83.33.
It was 83.33, but 10% of that. You know, this 1/3 of the 100 is the portion of the assets of the parts, plus the additional investment 50. So 1/3 of 100 will give you 33.33 plus 50, 83.33. And that's the total asset of the company. And they said you calculate depreciation 10% on the non-current asset. So 10% on 83.33 will give you 8.33. Then we come to the point of the tax. Tax is 20%. Please, can you do that subtraction for me? 50 minus 8.33 times 20%. We calculate tax on profit. So when you subtract the depreciation value from profit, the answer you get, you calculate 20% on it. So 20%. Please, let's move quick. What answer are you getting? So that gives us what answer? That's 20%.
That's 8.33.
Okay, so that gives us 8.33. Please, we should all know how to estimate it. So at the end of the day, the cash flow before interest payment is going to be the subtraction, 50 minus 8.33 minus 8.33. So this is the cash flow we have. So cash flow available. So what answer are we getting? 50 minus 8.33 minus 8.33. What answer are we getting? That's what you're going to use to do the estimation of the value of the company. Please, let's move quick. And we can also do here. So that gives us 16 point. So we have 16.66. 16.66 taken from 50 will give us 33.66. So 37. That's what I have. Per my subtraction over here, I have 33.37 million. That's what I have. So I'm going to use this to estimate the value of the company. So the terminal value of the company. How do you estimate it? So it's free cash flow. If you remember, the other one we said free cash flow of year 4. If you remember, 2 brackets 1 plus J. If you remember, 1 plus J bracket close all over WACC minus J. If you remember, times the discount factor of year 4. If you remember that formula, it's the same thing you're going to use over here. So I have my free cash flow. The last free cash flow is 33.37 into brackets. Do I have the growth rate? They said the growth rate is 3.5%. If you remember, that's what the examiner said that here. He said the free cash flows by 3.5% in perpetuity. It will grow. Will grow the part division after tax cash flows of 3.5. So 3.5% means 0.035. Then I'll divide it by the WACC. Hey, I didn't see any WACC in the question. No. The examiner is telling me to talk about WACC. I think there was some information. The company's, the new company's cost of capital is expected to be 11%. We do not have any other information apart from this. So that's what we use in our competition. So they're saying that their cost of capital is 11%. So I'll say 0.11 minus the growth, 0.035. Now, because we are looking at it in just 1 year period, we do not have a cash flow to estimate it. It's still the same discount factor in year 0, which is 1. So there's no need to multiply by any discount factor here. Please understand the difference. When we look at cash flow from year 1 to year 4, and we're moving from year 5 to infinity, we actually estimated the present value of the terminal value up to year 4 as a present value. Please, there's a difference between the two here. Here, these cash flows are only happening a single year, and you are just using the single year in year 0 to do the projection into the future. So then you have to use the discount factor in year 0, which is 1. But the other one, we go to year 4, and when we go to year 4, we now look at the cash flow from year 5 to infinity. So we estimated the discount factor of what? Year 4. That is discount factor DF4. So when you go through this analysis, please, you can give me the answer, but I think you get approximately 460.89 million. That is the answer over here that I'm getting. So this is the value of the new company. This is the value of the new company. The requirement says that to estimate the value of the new company and what? Briefly discuss whether or not the company, the management buyout would be beneficial. So over here, we can see that there has been an increase in the value of the company and that the management buyout will be beneficial. There's been a value of 460.89 million. Huge benefit. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, let me see if I can zoom you into the case of the solution. Let me see if I can do that. Zoom you in. I think I can zoom. I've gotten to that point so that we read and we say bye-bye to each other. So please, you can go after our meeting today. You can just sit back and go through the question again. If you have any issue, you can discuss it, right? So the examiner said we should discuss whether it is beneficial. So you can see the competition, right? The examiner did over here. They got 461, right? But we got 460.89 or something, right? That is not far wrong. It's correct. This is about 61% in excess of the funds. So the total funds that we needed, don't forget, we computed the total funds that we needed. So we compared the total funds to the 461, and he said that the total funds that we needed, there's an extra of even there's an extra of even 61% excess fund. So when you estimate the value of the new company, it is having extra excess fund of 61%, even if we are able to pay off the old funds that we even needed. That company is in the good shape. So in effect, it is beneficial. Now, the other part of the question was talking about a theory bit, and please, you can go through that. It really helps to cement understanding, but do not worry. Let me see if I can still come back, read some bits in there, the question again, and then see if we can come to the solution. It will be helpful. If not, it will happen that all the time we are eliminating theory questions. Doric Co's directors are of the opinion that they could receive a better price if the fridges division is sold as a going concern instead of its assets sold separately. They have been told that they need to consider two aspects when selling a company or a part of a company. One, seeking potential buyers and negotiating the sales price. And two, due diligence. So here, just like a forum, somebody is telling them that if you want to sell a part of your asset or all of your asset, you are to seek a potential buyer and you are to negotiate a selling price. And two, you are to also embark on due diligence. Some people are telling them, tell us your idea about this situation. That is it. That's the question. The question is not difficult. He said that people have told them about that. So you are to explain due diligence and the benefit it will give you if they embark on due diligence in the case of purchase or sale of any of the property. So this is the solution to that effect. Potential buyers will need to be sought or to seek, right? Past tense is sought. So potential buyers will need to be sought through open tender. You let people come in and tender. Or through an intermediary. You can allow intermediary to also help you get them. Depending upon, so give us your idea about due diligence. Give us your idea about getting a buyer when you want to sell your asset. That is exactly the question. Tell us your ideas, discuss it. Depending upon the nature of the business being sold, a single bidder may be sought or preparations made for an auction of the business. So we're still discussing the reason why you need a buyer. And if you do not get a buyer, you can go through auction, that sort of. Tell us your ideas about it. Doric Co suppliers and distributors may be interested, as may be competitors in the same industry. Yeah, that means other competitors may be interested. High levels of discretion are required in the search process to protect the value of the business from adverse competitive advantage. So you need to get a buyer, but it should be a good way so that competition will not affect the price. Sometimes people come in to compete and they affect the price. The price you wanted to charge, they actually spoil that. Otherwise, an interested and dominant competitor may open a price war in order to force down prices, and hence the value of the fridges division prior to a bid. Once a potential buyer has been found, so you see, it's just discussing. If you are using a potential buyer, how you can get them, how they will tend to work, that is the information. Once a potential buyer has been found, access should be given so that they can conduct their own due diligence. Up-to-date accounts should be made available and all legal documentation relating to assets to be transferred made available. Doric Co should undertake, relating to the question, Doric Co should undertake its own due diligence to check the ability of the potential purchaser. So the buying company does due diligence review. The company who is going to allow himself to be bought also does due diligence review. That's where you say, oh yeah, so yeah. The buying company is afraid that guy is going to underpay him. The company who is also going to buy is afraid that guy will make him overpay. So each and every one will do a due diligence review. Say, the asset I'm going to pay, I'm going to buy them. Is it worth buying? So that at every point in time. So the potential buyer will do a due diligence review. Doric, you also do a due diligence review. So that is what you are saying. Before proceeding, it would be necessary to establish how the purchaser intends to finance the purchase, the time scale involved in the raising of the necessary finance, and other issues that may impede a clean sale. Doric Co's legal team will need to assess any contractual issues on the sale, the transfer of employment rights, the transfer of intellectual property, and residual rights or responsibility of Doric Co. Right. So these are the sort of issues that, ladies and gentlemen, you like to read and read and read and read and read. Right. You like to read and read and read. So this brings us to the end of our meeting for today. I decided to take you through issues of corporate restructuring organization, starting today with the theory aspect of it. Please, that document is shared with you, though it is not properly organized. But I advise that the Kaplan textbook P4 is available on the page. You can go through that document and read at least the theories on restructuring. If a restructuring question, in fact, it has been a long time since the examiner brought a restructuring question. But because there's a pilot paper on restructuring, we are saying that look at a restructuring question in the case of Doric, but with WACC calculations. If the examiner wants to examine restructuring, please, he's not going to examine it as a part, as a 25 marker, never. If the examiner is going to examine it, he's not going to examine as a 25 marker. He's going to examine as a 50 marker. And if it's a 50 marker question, please, Doric is very important. Plus WACC calculation. If they are selling parts and it's going to be left with parts, is very important. Today, as I indicated, that there's going to be forums. We keep on jumping to forums, though still at the workplace, we still jump into forums. In fact, some individuals are saying that investment appraiser, what true investment appraiser check into restructuring, a bit about 50 marker. But for us, we are actually seeing that it can also be true because we have pilot papers in that regard. So please, if a restructuring question comes, in fact, students who are not really prepared for restructuring, they all the time do not sit up. So let's ensure that we are preparing 100% for the paper. And that is why we are going through this. Thank you very much for joining. If there's no question or questions, then we'll meet God willing tomorrow. All right, it appears there's no question. Your recording, 2 of it is already ready. I'm going to upload the remaining 2 and I'll send them to you before I leave the office. I do not want anything to be left, so I would like to get it done as quickly as possible. Thank you very much for joining. Have a very good evening.
Thank you. Yes.